Dust rose in lazy curls behind the old rancher's truck as it rolled up the winding dirt road toward Willow Creek Ranch. The sun was only just climbing over the distant ridge, stroking the open fields with a milky gold light. Morning birds chattered in the cottonwoods, and the smell of sage drifted in the cool air, everything exactly as it had been for the last 40 years. Except today, Clint Harlow wasn't alone. Standing beside the barn, hands on her hips, boots still too clean, hair pulled back with defiance and impatience, was Sierra Maddox, the new veterinarian the county had hired. 26, sharp-tongued, book-smart, and utterly unimpressed by the way things had always been done. The moment Clint stepped out of the truck, she strode toward him, chin tilted. "You're late." Clint raised an eyebrow, adjusting his hat. "Sun just came up, darlin'. Can't beat the light itself." "I told you last night the mare showed signs of colic," she said, tapping her clipboard. "We should have started treatment sooner. But I guess when you're pushing, what? 70. Clint snorted. 62. Still too old to be dragging your boots about while a horse suffers. The jab hit square, but Clint only chuckled. Deep and warm, like someone who'd already lived through far worse insults than a youngster's impatience. "Well now," he said, stepping past her toward the stable, "why don't we see who's too old once we get to work?" Inside the barn, the mare, Daisy, stomped anxiously, her sides flecked with sweat. Clint's face softened with concern. Sierra approached with efficient calm, slipping on gloves. "You restrain the head," she ordered. "I'll start the tubing." Clint didn't argue. Despite her arrogance, she clearly knew the procedure. He moved with quiet assurance, stroking the mare's neck with a practiced hand. Daisy eased instantly. Sierra watched, momentarily surprised. "Huh, she likes you. Animals know who's raised 'em right," Clint murmured. Sierra knelt to begin the treatment. The mare tossed her head, nearly knocking the equipment out of her hands. Clint reacted fast, much faster than Sierra expected, stepping in to steady the animal. The motion was fluid, strong, controlled. "Thought you said I was too old," he said, grinning sideways. She tried to hide her surprise. "Reflexes prove nothing. Proves plenty." They worked in tense harmony, her sharp precision, his steady instinct. After nearly an hour, the mare finally began to calm. Sierra stood, brushing dust off her jeans, cheeks flushed from the effort. "Well," she said, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear, "looks like she'll pull through." Clint nodded, leaning against a stall door. "You did good. You too," she admitted reluctantly. Then, almost as if compelled by irritation at her own compliment, she added, "for someone your age." Clint laughed again. "You sure like pokin' that bruise." "Just stating facts." "Facts," he echoed. "I've been running this ranch since before you were born. Fixed near every kind of problem this land can throw. Storms, fires, stampedes, you name it." He crossed his arms. "But you think one sunrise makes me too old?" The challenge in his tone made Sierra stiffen. She met his gaze head on. "You want proof," she said. "Fine. I've got more work today than half the ranch hands you've got left. If you can keep up, just keep up, I'll take back what I said." Clint tipped his hat, a spark of mischief lighting his eyes. "Darlin', I'll do more than keep up. I'll show you how real ranch work gets done." Sierra didn't respond, but her expression gave away what she wouldn't say aloud. She wasn't entirely sure he couldn't. And that bothered her more than anything. Why midday, the Wyoming sun had burned off the last trace of morning cool. Heat shimmered above the pastures, and cicadas buzzed in the cottonwoods. Sierra wiped her forehead with the back of her hand, breathing hard as she followed Clint up the slope behind the cattle pens. She'd expected him to slow down by now. He had to slow down eventually. Except he hadn't. Not even a little. Clint walked with the long, steady stride of a man who'd spent his whole life navigating uneven ground. He kept a rope coiled at his hip, a jug of water in one hand, and that maddeningly confident glint in his eyes whenever he glanced back to see if she was falling behind. She was not. But it took effort not to. So, Clint called over his shoulder, "How are those young legs holding up?" Sierra gritted her teeth. "Just fine." "Well, that's good," he said cheerfully, "'cause we're barely halfway done." They reached the top of the ridge, where the wind carried the scent of cedar and dust. Below them, a small group of cattle huddled near the tree line. Clint scanned the land, squinting against the sun. "Maverick bull got loose again," he muttered. "That stubborn beast has a love affair with trouble." Sierra uncapped her water. "Want me to circle around him?" "No need." Clint swung up onto the fence rail and whistled, sharp and commanding. The bull's ears twitched. Clint whistled again, louder. To Sierra's astonishment, the bull actually moved, slowly at first, then lumbering in their direction. "How did you?" "Raised him from a calf," Clint said with a shrug. "He thinks I'm his mama." Sierra blinked. "That is both impressive and slightly alarming." Clint only smiled. A warm wind ruffled his shirt, revealing the strong, weathered lines beneath. Sierra tried not to stare. The man was a contradiction. Sun-worn but powerful, older but tireless, gruff yet unexpectedly gentle. Everything about him refused to match the assumptions she'd arrived with. Together they guided the cattle back toward the fenced pasture. Clint's movements were smooth, instinctive, every gesture purposeful. Sierra found herself watching him more than the livestock. When the last cow trotted through the gate, Clint secured the latch and dusted off his gloves. "Not bad," he said. She rolled her eyes. "Wasn't trying to impress you." "Didn't say you were," he replied. "Just noticed you kept up." The casual praise irritated her more than an insult would have. Something about his calm certainty got under her skin. "I told you I could handle ranch work," she said. "And I never said you couldn't." He stepped closer. "You're the one who figured I was too old to handle you." Sierra's pulse skipped. She hadn't expected him to throw her own words back with such deliberate precision. Before she could respond, a sudden crack split the stillness, the sharp snap of a fence post giving way. They both turned. Down the hill, one of the yearlings had gotten its leg tangled in a broken stretch of wire. Sierra moved instantly. "We need to get him free before he panics." "On it," Clint said. They ran. Really ran this time, full stride, boots pounding the hard earth. Sierra reached the calf first but couldn't free him without risking a deeper cut. Clint dropped beside her, breath steady despite the sprint. "Hold him," he said. "I'll cut the wire." She braced the trembling animal while Clint worked the pliers. The yearling jerked once, twice. Sierra struggled to keep her grip. Clint steadied the calf with one arm, his other hand cutting the wire with practiced speed. "There," he said at last, freeing the leg. The calf bolted a few feet, then turned back, bleeding anxiously before limping toward safety. Sierra exhaled in relief. "You all right?" Clint asked. She nodded, but her heartbeat wasn't calming. Not because of the calf. Because of him. Because he knelt there in the afternoon light, sweat at his temples, eyes steady on hers, and she couldn't deny the truth anymore. He hadn't just kept up with her. He'd outpaced her. And somehow, instead of irritating her, it lit a slow, warm ember in her chest. "Clint," she began, unsure what she was about to say. But he only tipped his hat, expression softening. "Told you, darlin'," he murmured. "Old doesn't mean done."